Well, say something.
Well, I just hear a buzzing noise.
I hear a buzzing noise too.
Does he have his TV on?
No, he doesn't have his TV on. Well, just keep talking, Chris.
Well, anyway, I'd like to say happy birthday to Annette and also Dennis.
Well, thank you.
It's my birthday coming up soon, too, on Sunday.
Is that right? Well,
yes.
I didn't know that. Or I would have said happy birthday to you, too, but I hope you do something with Stewie.
Thank you.
Also, I'd like to say hi to Jay, who has a business on Smithfield Street, downtown.
Okay, so you said hi to who?
Jay.
Greg.
Jay, J-A-Y.
Okay.
He has a business on Smithfield Street, downtown.
Okay, can you say that name one more time? We have such an echo.
Jay.
Jay.
Okay, I was having a hard time with this noise. Okay, and what else would you like to say, Chris? And do you have a question for Joanne?
I don't even know who Joanne is. I didn't even know you were having her as a guest. I don't know anything about Joanne. So.
Well, Joanne is she's an internet expert, and she's also a journalist and an internet radio talk show host.
She does podcasts.
In all fairness, what's your name, dear?
Chris.
Chris, in all fairness, everything that I do is on the internet. I don't have any call letters, and I don't have a byline in a newspaper. Everything, all of my blogging, my online magazine, everything is online, and all of my radio shows are online too. But the good thing about that is that anytime you want to go and listen, you can go and listen to just about anything. So if you put Joanne Quinn Smith in, you can listen to the Techno Granny show and Monday Morning Marketeer.
But guess what? Unfortunately, he doesn't have access to the internet.
Oh, okay, Chris.
Yeah, unfortunately. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Chris. Chris, stay there. Please keep Chris on the line. Chris is our co-host. You've met him. You've seen him on there. Mm-hmm. And he is actually helping out at home right now. He would be here. Of course, Chris has had his medical issues. He's had, been in the hospital something like 33 times in the last 3 years. So we thank you for calling in, Chris. And we understand that you didn't know much about Joanne at this time. But what else would you like to tell us? Any other little news that you have?
I just wanted to let you know that that the gas prices are going up again.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so when you're taking people around where they need to go, make sure you ask them for gas.
Oh, don't worry. I have been asking them for gas whenever I go anywhere. Yeah, I have been doing that. And how is the how is the family, or how are the family? Grammatically.
How are the family?
Brian's the
Brian,
grammar expert.
How are the family
Chris,
doing?
how are the family doing?
Family's doing fine.
Okay. How are my grandchildren?
Grandchildren are fine.
Okay.
How's the puppy?
Puppy's fine.
Okay, well, Chris, I guess, do you have anything else you want to speak with us on?
One thing I wanted to mention is baseball season is winding down. The Pirates have approximately about 55 games left.
Right.
So I'm going to make a bold prediction that if the Pirates do make the playoffs, I ain't talking about a one-game playoff, I'm talking about if they would win the playoffs, where be contending for the World Series.
Yeah.
If they do make the playoffs, I would have my head shaved on the air.
You can't have your head shaved on the air. You
Yes,
would
I
mess
can.
up you would mess up the studio.
No, it wouldn't.
I don't know about that one, Chris.
Yep, I would have my head shaved on the air. And
I don't know about that one, Chris. I'll talk to Joanne about that. See what she
Have
thinks.
your head shaved on
the air.
If we win the pennant,
Oh,
right,
my
Chris?
goodness.
Pirates make the playoffs, yes.
Okay, I don't know about that one, Chris. Well, I have a comment about the Pirates real quickly, but we got to get down to the business at hand. I will say this, that I hope that they continue to succeed, and this may be the first time they end up in the playoffs in 20 years. So go ahead, Pirates, and get there, and then I won't pick on you so much.
I remember when we were the City of Champions.
I know.
I remember we were the City of Champions. We had the Penguins, we had the Pirates, and the
Yeah.
Steelers all in 1 year.
That's true. Well, Chris, we're going to go ahead and move forward so we can get to the questions of Joanne, because we have a trillion of them.
All right.
See you
And
this
I'll
week.
see you soon.
Bye, Chris.
See ya.
See you, Chris.
See ya.
All right.
Nice to meet you.
Now, one thing, Joanne, and audience, the audience knows that I generally do everything improvised, so I don't usually look at notes and all that. The only thing the audience sees me usually with checking what this paper is for the audience for purposes. If you see me with this paper, this is the format, and you'll see me periodically when the camera sees me. I'll be checking things. That's just to make sure we went through the format. But in this case, Joanne has so much that she has done that I thought it would not do her justice if I didn't take some notes. Now, I will tell you, when I prepared this paper, and I'll show you this too, I did this a couple of hours ago. I didn't have the information that Joanne gave me since, nor did I have the information she gave me off camera in the control room. Joanne is sort of like an encyclopedia of information, and that's a compliment. So I will say this. It would be unfair to me, unfair to Joanne and myself if I start asking the questions. So I'm going to let Annette ask, and then I'm going to have some questions. Don't worry. Now everybody knows, loudmouth Albert, come on. You know I have questions, right? Mr. Never Shuts Up,
Yeah.
please. You know I have questions.
And I heard you were a quiet guy.
No, he's a loud
Yeah.
guy. He's-
Well, you know, I will tell you, I will confess the truth here. This is actually true. It's funny you said that. Before I actually started believing in myself, I was such a quiet guy that when I was in high school, I was the worst of the worst, the guy against the wall. And in fact, throughout a whole year, literally everybody, a whole year, I kept my head on the desk, never asked a question, was terrified. So I would never, at one point, people would sometimes touch me to make sure I was still living. That's how quiet I was. And I went from super quiet to never shutting up. Howard Cosell and Myron Cope Part 2.
Yeah.
But you know what, everybody? I'm going to keep talking. And I'm going to keep doing what I do until we start improving America, well, first of all, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
America, and this planet. And until we change it from a me-first thought mentality to a all of us matter, because humanity really does matter mentality. Until that happens, guess what? I'm going to be the Myron Cope of Pittsburgh Part 2. And I got to meet the late Myron Cope, and he was a great guy. But now, let's get down to the business at hand and have Annette start throwing out those questions, and then I'm going to have a few, and then we're going to have to do this again and again and again in the future. That is if Joanne can deal with me, because, you know, with a comb over like this, I don't know. I mean, it might get her blinded from the bald spot shining, you know, you never know. Well, that's pretty.
Speaking of your brightness.
Yeah, it is pretty bright. All right, let's throw it over to Annette.
Okay,
I don't know where we're throwing, but go ahead, Annette.
I have 3 questions for Joanne, if that's okay.
Questions. Go for it.
One, my first question is, does Techno Granny stand for Grandmother of Technology?
No, actually, it does not. My grandson was, I raised my grandson from the time he was in 2nd grade until he was middle of his 2nd year sophomore in high school.
Wow.
And he was walking by the computer one day, and I was listening to my show when I used to still listen to them. Now I just don't have time to do that. But I was listening to the show, and my voice, of course, was coming out of the computer, and he said, "Grandma, what is that?" And I said, "Is that your voice?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, what is it?" I said, "That's me doing a radio show." He said, "You mean like a podcast?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Wow." And is it on iTunes? I said, "Yes, it is." And he said, "Wow, Grandma, you are the Techno Granny." And that's how I got that name, the Techno Granny, from my grandson.
Oh, that's cool.
He still thinks his grandma is one of the coolest people around.
I will second that,
I
but it's our
agree.
time.
I agree too.
Well, thank you.
How did you reach over 200,000 listeners, and can you create a DVD and or course that will allow people to do some or all of what you've done?
Well, okay, first of all, I think you have an old bio. My new one is we're actually accumulated over 1 million internet listeners.
Wow.
And that's throughout my entire network. That includes the Positively Pittsburgh Live Talkcast. That includes the Techno Granny Show. That includes Monday Morning Marketeer, Professionals with Impact.